go.
Gee, what CB? These were the pants I brought.
You look amazing. You look amazing.
Didn't I?
Your bum looks so fat.
It's not too forward having the butt cheeks cut in.
No, I like it.
Oh, I've been stitched up a beauty there. They tell me we're going to be quiet now. We're going to be quiet now. The intro's going to play. And talk about butt cheeks through leather pants. Well played, lads. Well played.
Why do you trust us? Why do you trust us?
I don't know. I'm not sure. It's just blind faith.
Well, I'll tell you something, Michaels, or otherwise known as Mario from Doncaster. We Europeans, right? We love our thing for us. Vengeance and revenge is always best served cold. So I remember you clearly telling to CB when you did your solo duo show, and you put out. I bet you Tiggs won't listen to it. Let's just,
ride him on. See if he will.
Yeah, it's mental abuse me, mate. And I didn't say anything. I just took it on board, just waiting for the moment. The moment presented itself.
No,
how are you, boys?
Good yourself.
Good.
I've got my internet hamsters working overtime at the moment, fellas, after the debacle yesterday. Just to clear that up as well, firstly, Tiggs, thank you so much yesterday for the live trade show. It was an absolute monster show. Unfortunately, my internet did drop out at the end there in the entire state, so it kind of ended abruptly, but luckily it was at the end. But the content you provided was first class, and the feedback's been nothing but positive. So if anyone out there hasn't listened to the show yet, it's up on Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, all your podcast apps. It goes for about an hour and 20 minutes, but you get all the gossip about Richmond players, about players that we've spoken to, the work. So it's well worth listening to if you haven't already. So thank you again, mate.
So it was an hour. Did it go for an hour and 20, did it?
About that, yeah.
Because I heard it was 20 minutes of content, and then the rest of the time was just him talking about his leather pants and eating pancakes and stuff.
Well, that's the thing, look, for me, a couple of points. I'm happy to do it. I'm getting mail coming thick and fast on top of what I've discussed in this crazy part. The next fortnight's really nutso, really. So hopefully before grand final, maybe grand final week, I think will probably be the best time. We'll do another one if you like.
Yeah, no, sounds good. I'm happy to make the time to do that. CB, how did you were all right? There's a few people a bit worried about you that you got the arse, but it was...
The lemon and sauce.
Yeah, I saw that comment. Oh, God, I hope that hasn't been the vibe that's come across that we're giving you the flick.
Well, look, I'll tell you what happened. As you know, it's trade season, people, and I did hit Michael's management up for a pay rise for the hard work I've done this year. All I asked was for a Mars bar to go with my can of Coke payment every week. And I received a very threatening email back from Michael's and his management saying, take it or go. And I was told to maybe explore my options. So maybe the West Coast board is my future. I don't know.
Would you accept a Morrow bar?
It's a poor man's Mars bar. But
it is.
Yeah, look, you know what? If I have to take it, yeah, okay, you got me for a Morrow. Done.
Yeah, but see, what's really disappointing, listeners, is I don't get given anything. So, I'm just gobsmacked. I've had to contact Mario, have a chat with him. He's going to represent me. So, and it's probably going to take him about, about 9 months to be able to sort of caterpillar his way across to Morrow's workplace and get into negotiations on my behalf.
I'll split it with you. I'll go 50-50 on the Morrow bar.
Split the Morrow bar?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll crack into it. Huge final we had on the weekend against St Kilda. You boys were, especially CB, was very confident in his margin. Richmond 12-8-80 defeated St Kilda 6-13-49 by 31 points. Now, CB,
we just pissed Richmond. You left 50 on the table.
Well,
off the table.
Tom Lynch, if he had converted, he might have been half a chance.
Oh. But is there a drum roll or anything, Michaels? Is there any musical effect you're going to do about this thing? Because I think this is the first one in our history that I actually got the call exactly right. Is that correct?
I've got a round of applause.
Okay, well, you could use that.
You won't hear it, but I'll play. Here we go. So, Tiggs, what margin did you pick? What margin did you pick?
I picked 31 points. Didn't I?
You didn't. You didn't. You were closest, though. You were closest,
32.
though. So, Tiggs was closest with the margin. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Big round of applause for Tiggs for his first accurate margin prediction for the year.
That's it. Thank you all.
But
I was challenging my Mick Malloy. Next time I make a prediction for this game, just put your house on it.
Do a Tiggs multi.
Yeah, Tig's multi. That's it. Perfect. That could be a new segment.
Very good win by the boys. It was what we kind of expected it was going to be. That steely resolve, that wanting to make up from the week before against the Brisbane Lions, and it was just very businesslike. The first quarter was pretty efficient from us, wasn't it, CB?
Absolutely. I mean, we won the game through our scoring from turn. What was it? I've got notes here. Scoring at stoppages is actually where we flogged them. We could take goals from scoring at stoppages. So absolutely belted them in an area which we don't normally win, and that's fantastic. And you got to wonder how much that's attributed to Dion Prestia coming back in and Shane Edwards and totally redefining our structures around the ball.
And Brody back in the team, I thought it gave us a bit more flexibility in a lot of parts of the ground, I think.
I love that, man. I tell you what, I'll hear no one else claim Nathan Broad or Camden McIntosh, but me and Michaels, Tiggs, you're not so much. We know you got problems in Camden. But
sometimes you're a peasant, man. I swear to God, I try to cover for you. I try to lift you up, my brother. I try to lift you up, but you just let me down. You're like the goalie on yes, that's what it is, you know. Fading in and out of games.
Look, I think we're all in agreement. We are a better team with Nathan. We're a better team when Nathan Broad is in the team. Do we agree?
Yeah.
Yes and no.
You wonder why you don't get payment. You don't like Broad or McIntosh. This is why.
I love. No. Listen, Camden. I've always been on his. I've always rated him. Right. Anything else you've heard is fake news. Right. I've gotten right on that bandwagon, and I'm strapped on. Right. I'm strapped on with Camden, but. No, but look, seriously, with Camden, he's now doing what I've asked of him, right? He's playing to his level consistently, so I'm wrapped with him, right? But Broad, look, I rate Broad. He'll always be a Tiger legend. I love him to death. Always will, right? Always will. Mate, I'll even go a second level and put a tattoo of Broad's face on my back, right? But in saying all that, I think Markov... We're at a position, and I think the people we haven't re-signed this year and people we haven't re-signed next year is because we're getting to a point where we're going to have to replace some of these soldiers that have been with us all this time and have done the grunt work. And Broad's one of those soldier types, and we have to replace them with the new blood that we've kept in our system now for 5 years that have been so incredibly patient, that are ready to get their careers going. Players like Markov. So. All I'm about is saying thank you, Broad. Thank you for everything you got. But I'll pack your bags and drive you to the airport.
I think that point. I reckon that point's still valid. But I think for the time of year that we're in, I think Broad's the smarter choice over Markov, just from an experience perspective.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Like, no doubt. And when Broad got picked, I didn't go, we should get Markov in. I was happy with that pick. One player, in my personal opinion, that Markov should come in from is Pickett, because he's playing dumb football. Now, what I mean by that is he's in the St Kilda game. He did some great things, like, for example, what he did with Marshall. Instead of going to tackle, he went to bump and it came off, right? Because it was sort of a hybrid between the two. He obviously got in two minds. But he does some dumb things on the ground continuously non-stop.
He hasn't played 20 games yet.
Yeah, but...
He's still learning.
Yes, no, but you know what, mate? And this time of year we're talking about. This time of year, you've got to go with people that make the right decisions. You know, you can't say all the time, but most of the time, right? And he's an older guy. It's obviously built into how he did his prison footy and his VFL or NEFL, whatever they call it, WA, waffle footy. And it's very hard to train out of just, a quarter of a pre-season, because to his credit, he hasn't had a full pre-season. I don't rate this off-season as a pre-season for him because of COVID. So it's going to take him a couple of seasons to get that out of his game. So, and I just hate seeing it. Like, I love him as a player, and I think there's a role for him at the club. But the Brisbane game was really hard for me to forgive, with some of his stupid errors that he did.
Mate, we're in a prelim now, so that's 2 games ago.
Yeah, but they're looking for him. The umps will be looking for him. They'll be going, okay, yeah, Pickett, he's done this. He's done 3 things in every game. And that's what they do, the umps, the dogs, right? So I reckon Markov is faster, is more aerially superior. He might not be as hard, but he ain't a soft guy. Have you seen Markov, mate?
Harwick's load the team, change teams
this
time of year with unless there's injury or something. So
his press conference after the game. Yeah, his press conference after the game, all but pretty much assured that Pickett's playing this week.
But what would he say? He's not going to say Pickett was shit.
I know, but he was overly complimentary. I don't know.
In the first half, of last night, first half against the Saints, how would you rate Pickett's game, honestly?
Mate, I thought the whole team was a very good team. I've got no qualms.
No, you're doing an SS supporter on me. Let's focus back on to answer the question directly. I'm talking about Marlon Pickett's games exclusively for that first two quarters.
I thought he was fine. I thought the whole team was fine. We put him to bed in the first half, mate.
No, but he was. That's what I mean. We were on top of the group. We're performing, but he was turning the ball over consistently during those first two quarters. What's funny? What I like about Marlon, when St Kilda started pushing back in the third, he actually came into the game.
So Dion Presti's first half was...
but Dion Presti, that's his second game back, so he can give him a lot of outs, right? He hasn't played all year, right? So, but look, we do agree to disagree. That's what this pod is for. I just think Marlon, from what he's shown, has a lot of positives, but he's limited. And
there's no doubt. He's got some
his negatives, to me, really forces to open the door to give a kid like Markov his full-time opportunity.
There won't be now. Not with 1 to 2 games left in the season. It won't be now.
Yeah.
But I will say this too, just back on Camden, I'm making the prediction now, he'll have a top 5 BNF finish for the club. That's how good his year's going.
Yeah, he's been one of the most consistent players, hasn't he?
Yep. He's doing the things
lose a contest, does he? Like when he at least halves every time the ball goes near him.
So
if you're looking for a sneaky little thing, top 5 finish for Camden. Get on it.
What's good with him? He's simplified his game. He's just keeping it nice and simple, and he's working to his strength, which is brilliant. But look, on the Saints game as a whole, they're tears. The Saints, I know they don't win finals often. I don't know when their last final was, when Ross the Boss was coaching them, I expect. But how salty are they? Like, let's talk about the game for a little bit, right? Everyone's talking about their inaccuracies and how they, should have been a lot closer. If Lynch had kicked, he kicked 5 points. 3 of those 5 points were sodas, right? And he just completely missed them. And I'm not talking about any other misses that we had. We had a couple out in the falls as well. So we could have really beaten them by, 50 points. But if the 3 kicks that they had gone through for the Saints, because I really think there was only 3 sodas that they missed. But overall, we did what we needed to do. We blasted them. What I'm excited about Richmond, to be honest with you, is we learned from St Kilda. We knew their strength. We took it away from them. We forced them to try to find another avenue of scoring, which they're not used to. And we just went bang, 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 bang. And people talk about how we fumbled the ball this game. In the first quarter, well, look at this. In the first quarter, we didn't really fumble. The first quarter, we were clean as, sharp as, and that's because there was no dew. So, when the dew started building back up, that's when the fumble started happening. Mate, and look, Trent Cotchin, that tackle was just a high tackle. And people said he did it late. He did it right on the whistle. I've watched it 3 times. It was exactly when the whistle was blown, he went to tackle. So in his mind, the ball would have been still live. So, so just Saints supporters really let themselves down in my eyes. They're salty, just absolutely salty.
Yeah, but mate, you know what? Winners are grinners. Losers, go please yourselves, right?
That's right.
Question I'm going to put on you, because we've discussed this, we discussed it heavily before the game was played. So the rucking. So what we saw
got it wrong.
The weekend, we saw Asprey, Bolter and Nankervis as our ruck division. How'd you feel about that?
I liked it.
Look excited. Oh, sorry. Go, Michaels.
I liked it. One, because no one predicted it. Everyone thought it was Broad for all money, really. I like the Asprey one. He's a good size. He's strong. And as someone's posted on our board, if he's on another lumbering ruckman, he's not going to get exposed if he hasn't got the pace, because he's still pretty fit and agile, but at least he's not on like a Nat Nui type kind of ruckman. And Bolter in there, I thought was a no-brainer anyway. So I really liked it. I thought it was a good mix-up.
Well, it excited me because we're coming up a ruck combo of Lysette and Ladhams. Is that he pronounced it? Ladhams.
Yep.
Ladhams. So what I would do all game, Bolter plays on Laddams. So if Laddams forward, Bolter is defender. If Laddams is in the ruck, Bolter rucks him. And we won't lose anything out. We'll just gain. There's so many. Look, Laddams played that RC game against us, but I rate the kid. I would love him at our club, but he is, what I've noticed of him is one effort type player at the moment. So if he loses the first contest, that's it. He's out of the contest. Where Bolter's completely different from that. And I reckon he's an okay ruckman. He's not the best. I reckon Bolter will basically get close to cancelling him out in the taps to advantage. But where Bolter will crucify him is, he'll become like an extra winger running around the ground, and Laddams won't be able to keep pace with him. And then if Laddams is forward, Bolter will smash him. I have no doubt about it. I'm fully convinced. Bolter has all this taller, faster, can spoil him. It's going to be beautiful to see.
And Broad coming back in gave us that flexibility.
Yeah, 100%. That's why he's vital.
So we got a really good side up at what we can do next week. So I thought it was fantastic. Yeah, and, big fan of it.
CB, did we possibly see the best 4-possession game from Jack Riewoldt ever?
I'll tell you what. How good was his game with his decoy running in that? And we just exposed St Kilda deep forward, and Lynch smashed him. It was a very, very good setup, very intelligent. And the Saints had no answers. And as far as let's talk about it, Lynch's physicality, mate. Didn't you see the stark difference between a Mavia Chol forward line and a Tom Lynch forward line? He smashed. In my opinion, I actually thought Lynch was best on ground because he was just like a big dominant bull. He smashed him. He smashed him physically in the air. Clearly smashed him on the ground. And like I said, if it wasn't for his kicking, he would have had 5-6 goals. But I thought his game, the way Jack played his game, which allowed Lynch to play his game, was absolutely fantastic coaching. Well done.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with everything you said.
And Dan Rioli, I thought he had another good finals game.
Yeah. Can I just say about Dan Rioli, everyone questions, and I've been his defender all year, right? He comes into finals when the game gets contested, when the game people stay true to their positions, try to maintain their shape, all this sort of stuff. When the focus is at its highest, Dan Rioli thrives, right? He's one of our best finals players across all final series since 2017. He's one of the most consistent final players we have. He's won us games from his own boot. The GWS preliminary final. It was one other final there. They actually won the game for us. It just escapes me. So, I was rapt. I was rapt for him against the Saints. He took it to the cleaners, and he helps guys like Shai Bolton. He helps, because they obviously are really good mates. They see what he does, how selfless he is. Helps with their development, and still, and completely being committed to the team. So, it was brilliant, Dan's game. I loved it.
And I've just received a PM from VB Longneck from the Big Footy board, and he's just giving me his teams for Port Adelaide. And surprisingly, Rioli's out. Didn't see that
coming. All right, well, that's a good one to finish on actually for the St Kilda game. We've got a bloodbath now, but it's not being led by CB. Tiggs has demanded airtime on this one, so over to you, Tiggs.
Yeah, look, the media we all know has been absolutely disgusting, and I've taken on the feedback that I have to be understanding that we might have little kids listening, and I fully understand that. But I have to tell you guys, I'm not a priest. Yeah,
here comes the O'Gorman.
No, I'm not a priest, right? So seriously, just for this minute or two. Get your kids out of the room, right? Because I can't help myself. But what a fucking song and dance the media as a whole has been trying to first, they got to a point now they're making shit up, right, just to be able to slander our club even more. And I saw a prime example of that I've tweeted against and really have taken Robbo from the Herald Sun to task on. But before I really just go balls deep into Robbo, and that sounds as disgusting as it visually looks, you've got your Kane Corns, you've got your fucking all your flogs going on about Richmond. We're not nice. How dare Lynch? He could have broken his collarbone. Look. Lynch does what he does. People were celebrating. You know what Lynch did was nothing different from what GWS did in their final series last year. If you don't believe me, go watch GWS. everyone was going, I love their mongrel. They're shoving blokes' heads into the ground. They're keeping the tackle going longer than they should do. They're not getting up. Oh, they're putting shoulders on them, elbows in their faces, right? But Lynch is doing it this year. And they're all cracking the shits like Lynch is a thug. And you've got your pathetic little dweebs like Andy Mayer, actually called Lynch on radio a dickhead, right? That's how this media reckons they're allowed to act now, actually call a player a dickhead. I've never heard Andy Mayer call, there should be a dickhead policy because Lynch is acting like a dickhead. That's disgusting. And trust me, ladies and gentlemen, I'll ring in Sent tomorrow. And making sure I speak to Andy if they have the balls to take me on. But Robbo kicked the cake for me. This is the Australian, one of the largest papers. One of the largest papers. Yes, it's a tabloid mag, but it's one of the largest ones. And he's the chief editor of the sports section. We had this prick, and I'm not going to insult him as a person, because I'm not going to stoop to his level. Actually set a poll calling Nick Vlaston a cheat and a liar. And for media that are the first, the AFL and the media who cry about social trolls, online trolls, how no one should put a stand against it, how they are pro anti-bullying and all this utter shit. Because that's what it is, because your actions are the truth, not your words. That's how I've grown up. My dad said to me when I was a little boy, he said to me, Michael, he said, no one cares about what you say. They only care about what you do. And so no matter if you're the poorest bloke in the world, if you have your word, you always will be the richest because people will believe what you say. And I've always taken it to heart. So with Robbo, his poll was just to feed the hate. The shit Nick copped on that Twitter poll was he's a dog, he's a cheat, he's a liar, and then it just sort of morphed into every anti-Richmond thing you could possibly say to. And it's not a club supporting thing. It is just a disgusting thing. And when Nick saw it, Robbo doesn't apologise. He just said, sorry, Nick, taking the poll down. Didn't go, I was a dickhead here, I overstepped the mark. I'll tell you what I've done, and I urge everyone that's got a Herald Sun subscription to do what I've done. I emailed the Herald Sun. I've cancelled my subscription with the Herald Sun. And in that email, and it might mean one person, they might not care. But let's say they've got 20,000 of us, and make sure you put down Robbo's poll and tweet and how he called one of that, and I did it because I don't endorse bullying. I don't endorse internet trolls. I've got kids. So, yeah, that's my bloodbath on him in the media, but more specifically on Robbo, it was disgusting.
Yeah, pretty average. And I'm really rapt that Nick called him out too. I like to see the player fight back. I know people say they should just ignore it and just brush it off. But no, if you're being called a cheat, you call that shit out. So, well done, Nick, for standing up. And, yeah, the fact that the AFLPA don't step in on that stuff is just mind-blowing, especially when they're trying to stamp it out. It's just not good enough, Robbo. CB, anything from you?
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to have a little mini bloodbath here. So the commentary in our game on Friday night, I found deplorable.
Yes.
I found it. And I've actually asked other people. I've been PM'd. I've received a lot of feedback about the commentary on our on Channel 7's broadcasting and commentary in our games, and it was just. I mean, when you've got guys like Bruce McAvaney asking JB, do you think the Tiger supporters are getting a little bit nervous? And shit I knew Bruce was in for a big one when he tried to crank out a skid mark joke 30 seconds into the game. And I just find JB is one of the worst commentators. He always cheerleads against us. And I tell you what, boys, I'm that frustrated with the crap that we have to endure as Richmond supporters that I'm putting it out there right now. I want a live broadcast on Friday because I think our supporters deserve better. Are you in?
The live broadcast on Friday. He's called it.
But that's my hooker night. That's normally when we go. But you know what? For you, mate, I'll sacrifice that. And, Simone's going to be crushed, but, I don't care. And so would Peggy, Rita, and Tula,
I'll do my best. I'll make sure it's all set ready to go. Whether I'm there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or whatever will remain to be seen. But I'll try and get amongst it as best I can. But I think that's a brilliant idea because I've seen a lot of commentary on it being pretty average as well.
But
so
you know why?
There you go,
you know
ladies
why?
and gentlemen. A live commentary show happening this Friday night for our Port Adelaide game. At a bare minimum, you're going to get Tiggs and CB all the way through, so make sure you tune in for that.
And you know why JB's so salty anti-Richmond is because he knows that Richmond's gone past his club by a country mile. He used to be I didn't mind him when we were shit, even in 2017, because he still didn't believe it, that Richmond was coming good. But now it's stared him, he just can't handle it.
Yep, it's disgusting what Channel 7 offer. And it's BT, keep in mind, listeners, listen up. It's either you got Bruce McAvaney and Brian Taylor, or you can have me and Tiggs. You guys do the math.
No
it's actually
brainer.
Tiggs and I, mate.
No
Tiggs
brainer.
and I?
Oh,
not me and Tiggs, mate. Tiggs and I. Come on, son. Well, kids listening. Education.
Listen, mate. Go get O'Gorman.
All right, before we get stuck into the Port game, we wanted to sort of do a little bit of a season review for the two clubs who have now been eliminated from the competition. So we'll keep it quick because I don't want to push the show too far. I know you could go for a good hour and a half on this if you had to, Tiggs. CB, this is CB's fault. He said we have to give Tiggs Collingwood just to see how he goes with it.
That's why I love him. Right, that's why I love him. So even though he's got diabetes and he sometimes attacks me and all this sort of stuff, I don't care. I love him because he's got a gold heart.
We've got a season review for Collingwood, so Pies fans, listen up. This is your season in review, courtesy of Tiger 71.
Collingwood. This is a club who have players that are on their list thinking they've got a better list than us. Who've got players who, get so pinged out of their ears of, they say alcohol, but we all know, wink, wink, that they're running down the street halfway naked, not knowing where they are. We've got players.
They're proud of him, though.
What?
They're proud of him, though, when Sidebottom does.
They're proud of them. They see, and that's their problem this year. They've got Mason Cox, right?
Hey! Let's just call him what his proper name, Mr. October.
Mr. October, right? Mr. October. They're paying him how much? $550,000 a year, Mr. October.
And he triggered a clause in his contract.
Triggered a clause in his contract, which is fantastic. Look, their year was a typical year. Nathan, in 2018, could copy Richmond, right? Because Conrad Marshall did that beautiful book, right? So he had something in print he could copy on. So they tried that in 2018, and that gave them a little bit of momentum, and they played above themselves. And in 2019, they were drawing what they learnt the year before, but it started getting stale. So hence they, obviously fail. In 2020, they've got nothing left. Nathan Buckley's got no ideas. He's got no other plans than just defend. Like for us, they can play good quality football but their coach doesn't even believe in their own playing group. Perfect example is that game we had where they jumped us by 5 goals and then went full-blown defensive mode from the second quarter, and, we draw it. So, but really to keep it sweet and short and simple, they suck. They've got major issues. They've got limited players. They've got aging superstars. Pendlebury he's probably got one more year left. And, they're latching onto him like he's the talisman, because without him, they're rooted for 4 or 5 years. Tay and Treloar, who they've overpaid to keep, are just average midfielders. Though Tay, I'll say, is more P+.
I'll give him Taylor Adams and I'll give him Pendlebury.
Yeah, okay, hold on. This is your review, not mine. Tay, I would say, is a B+. Pendlebury's obviously a gun. Pendlebury, Sidebottom, please. He's a supreme player. Varco has read the writing on the wall, so he's jumped out early. And then they've got, their backline, if you have a look at it, Myercheck is an okay defender, right?
He doesn't play in the backline.
Is it forward?
I always call him Myercheck.
Maynard.
They look the same to me, right? You know what? They look the same to me. Both of them look like they came out of Frankston, right? The suburb of Frankston, right? But both of them are good B-grade players, C to B-grade players. But the rest of them, they look like Ned Kelly in the backline. I don't even know what his name is, but he looks like Ned Kelly, right? I think they got him from The Voice. Was that the competition?
The Masked Singer.
The Voice or whatever it was. They got him from. So, yeah, look, a lot of cracks have appeared. Eddie's not happy. So they sucked this year. They played under themselves. Well, actually, they played to their level this year. I was surprised they made finals. They pulled it out of their ass. They're a tin ass side. And being a tin ass can only carry you so long. So, yeah, they had a really bad season, in my opinion, which is an F.
Okay, fair enough.
They've got an F because they've got no future. Until they nuke that list, they've got no future.
Oh.
I love it.
Well, watch this space, I reckon, in terms of their list.
Collingwood.
CV, you're going to do a review for the St Kilda fans out there for their season just gone?
St Kilda. You know what?
You're going to make sure you speak up then because there's 12 of them. The 12 of them are all gathered down the radio. So
Let me tell you.
Speak up for them.
It's so damn hard to hate this team when I really, really, really like Brett Ratton. So all I'll say is I respect Brett Ratton as a coach. I reckon he's a terrific guy. He's done wonderful things for that club. So in all honesty, my season review for St Kilda and for Dan Butler to come run us up in their BNF. Well done, Dan Butler. Yeah. Absolutely outstanding. No, look, you know what? I'm not even going to roast them. Saints, I think they're in for some very, very, very good years coming up, and I'm wrapped for Brett Ratton. So I'll give them a B+ for from where they've come from.
I agree. They're very well coached, and they've got a good list set up as well. They're going to go places without doubt.
And respect to Brett Ratton. I'll tell you how much I respect Brett Ratton. When Tom Morris was openly baiting him over the Nick Floston goal, and he got shut down by Ratton in a truly professional manner. That shows you the measure of the bloke. He didn't buy into the media bullshit. It was great.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
All right, we'll move on to the big one this Friday night, the prelim final versus Port Adelaide. So we've got 4 prelim finals in 4 years, fellas. That's a really good effort, first off.
It's monumental. Monumental.
When you think about it, I saw this written, and I can't remember who by, so I apologise for not giving the appropriate credit, but if someone had said to you at the end of 2016, in the next 4 years, you're going to make 4 prelims and convert 2 of them into flags, you would have told them to get O'Gorman. But it's
a lot of people told me to get O'Gorman at the time when I said it, right? But I'm glad I've come out to be true.
Yeah, it's an
I'm only bullshitting, by the way. No, I'm only joking. God, I'm sucking in my jokes today.
And on top of the fabulous effort of making the prelim, it's also Trent Cochrane's 250th game, which is a very worthy celebration.
Well done, Skipper. He is a legend. Absolute legend.
There will be a statue of him erected at Putton Road at some stage, I've got no doubt. He's been one of the catalysts, along with Dimmer and Benny and Peggy, to bring us out of the woodwork. So well done, Skipper. Hope you have a great game and just kick with the wind is all I'll say.
History will remember this guy as one of our greatest ever captains, won't it?
And if there is going to be a statue, I reckon the statue should be with him and Dimmer because they're joined at the hip those two.
I like that. That's a fair call. But yeah, big game versus Port coming up, fellas. We obviously played them in round 11, I think it was, and they beat us pretty much in the last quarter. But let me read out some names to you that didn't play for us in that game. Cochrane, Hawley, Edwards, Graham, Prestia, Nankervis and Asprey. That is 7 massive inclusions we've got this time around from when we played them last time. And look, if you're a Port fan and you're up and about because you finished top, you're playing good footy, straight to the prelim, fair play to you. But I warn you to discredit the facts. Like, there's a lot of people discrediting us and saying that those ins aren't going to be that helpful. They're if you read their board,
how could you honestly say that?
They are big ins, CB.
They are monstrous. It's basically excluding Martin. That's just starting midfield, including your ruckman in for starters.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, our keyback and secondary ruckman, like you actually can't understate those inclusions enough. I can't believe that. I mean, look, I think Port were missing maybe 2. They're missing Rosie or a couple of others.
Apparently, missing Rosie, and the big one that they were missing, the huge one that Port supporters have been telling me that is a linchpin for their attack is Motlop. Like fucking fair income. Excuse Gorman, fair income.
Oh, I tell you what.
Like Motlop.
I tell you what. I hope there's no honeypot there. I don't want to be drowned in Motlop's honey.
Oh, come on. Come on, seriously. You're making me physically ill. Like Motlop, right? I can take Rose here. I can take that other dude with the bad haircut. But, Motlop, no. Look, the names you mentioned to me are great, but the biggest impact it has, not many sides would win a game of football if you took out 90% of one part of the ground. So this is how big it is that we've made the prelim, right? We played a good 8 weeks with 90% of our midfield not playing. That is huge. That's like us asking Port in round 11 not to play with Boak. Wingard. I'm going like for like players.
No, Wingard plays at Hawthorn, so that won't matter.
Oh, Wingard. Oh, sorry. We're talking about...
Hey, Tiggs, I've got to tell you, Josh Franco no longer plays. I think Fred Dre's out for the week.
Matty White's still in, yeah? What about Shaw? Seriously, I had a fucking good point. But it's like having Boak, Wines, Pepper, Rockcliffe, those four not playing.
Yeah, no,
right? Do you reckon
right.
they would have beaten us? Yeah, they wouldn't have had this ascendancy of all the possessions, and they did it. They wouldn't have had that.
The loss we had against them, it's bad to blame one player, but it kind of all unravelled with that caddy double 50. Like they were starting to build momentum, and that kind of just broke us a little bit. And the floodgates opened.
No, don't caddy into the bus. No, we were done and dusted. We were just hanging on. We should have been 12 goals down by that stage. That's how much, because we couldn't apply any pressure across the width of the ground. What was keeping us in it was our back line, because it was really the only line that we had fully functional, and our rebound that was generating all of our scores was cutting them up. That's why Caddy, he gave a stupid 50, but at the end of the day, we lost the free kick count. I think we had to double the free kick count at the end of the game, but during that period, they were like more than double. So if it wasn't a Caddy 50, it would have been another 50 for something else. So, I reckon Caddy, did something stupid, but he didn't cost us the game. But you know what, boys, it bodes well for us, because we not only, their strength is quick clearance, inside 50, repeat inside 50. Would that be fair? That's their one word?
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say that we've got a thing in the run sheet which actually ties into a question I've got to answer for Brett Weeks. So do you want me to go into that?
Yeah,
that'll cover
cool.
off part of it?
Yep, go ahead.
Because it's just two of the same thing. So Rhett, g'day, mate. How are you? So basically, Rhett's asked a question saying, how do we beat Port and who should we play on Port? So I'll give me an answer and you can come over, Tiggs, and agree. On Boak. So how do we beat Port? So Port's a strong stoppage team and a high disposal team, and they're currently the league's best territory team, all right? Whereas the Tigers play a surge pressure game. So scoring from turnovers is our one wood. For Port to be successful, they have to apply pressure the whole game to beat us. For Richmond to be successful, we have to beat them at stoppages and to keep scoring on the turnover. So if you look at last week, we scored 8 goals from stoppages, and that's where the game this week will be won or lost. Now, as for who should play on Boak, I reckon we just go head-to-head with them. So they'll start with Wines, Boak, Rockcliffe in the guts. We'll start with Koch and Martin Prestia. To quote Damien Hardwick, let the boys play. Now, I've just got some stats here, just where I normally get my little stat things, and I'll just give you some numbers. So these are average numbers. So Richmond average 25 clearances a game to Port's 35. Centre clearances, we're at 9, they're at 11. And stoppage clearances, we average 16, they average 24. So there's some massive discrepancies there. But I think with Edwards and Presti coming back into the team, those numbers will be a lot closer this game. Do you agree, boys?
And Graham, for that matter, as well.
Yes.
Well, that's. I agree with you completely. But see, the thing is for me, and you've just sort of reinforced it, is Port's biggest strength and how they generate the majority of their scores is by the territory game, which is the repeat inside 50s. Why they get it in there quick, right? Their back line is protected by that because of the pressure that their midfield and front half create by locking that ball in. What's brilliant with us and what's key to us, it has been since 2017, is we absolutely feed of inside 50s from the opposition. The more inside 50s you get in our defence, the more ability we have the ability to generate scoring opportunities yourself, because we're the number one side from defensive 50 to scoring by an absolute country mile. So that for us, that's what kept us in the game against their best side in the league, inverted commas, who was at full strength other than Rosie and Motlop, right?
Burton, the other one, they had Burton.
And us on a and Burton, what is he? It's his second season, or third season, because he came from Hawthorn. So, really, don't even include him. That's like us saying Markov was a huge out, you know what I mean, or something like that. So, but they were on their form. We were off a 4-day break, and boys, we were up in the last quarter. And it was solid because that one part of our system was basically an elastic banding or their inside 50s because they like pressure in the corridor. This is if you watched a lot of Port games. When they do an inside 50, they do it straight to the centre of the square. They rarely go to the pockets. They'll go straight into the guts of this, in basically 20 to 30 out. If you draw a circle from the goal square, a big circle around that, that's where the ball's going to go, right? 90% of the time. And what their mids are trained to do is to flood that area like a wall. So, because they're so used to getting that quick first clearance, big ball in, and then they run and lock it in if Charlie hasn't taken a mark or they're close down. And they're banking on two things happening. The ball goes to ground. They either go for a free kick, get a free kick because, they're in Adelaide, or they get it to one of their smalls that will generate a score. What's great, that system plays into our hands because we're one of the best intercepting sides and we're one of the best sides to actually create run from a stoppage. So add that layer that CB mentioned that with Prestia, Edwards, Graham, Cochin coming into our midfield, supporting Martin, we now have the ability to still have that one wood, but also negate and if not equalise their other form of strength, which is score from stoppages during the ground. So
yep.
I see a lot of this is what I see. I see the game sort of evolving into a bit of a shootout in the first quarter. Whoever gets the first clearance gets the score. And then thinking that logically through, if both times want to go head-to-head and let the boys play, our backline is superior to theirs. So they aren't renowned. They're pretty bad at getting this defensive 50 change to score. They're not the best at it at all, just looking at the stats. So whereas they're quick, I'm going to shut up in a second, guys. I will get to my point. But they're quick inside 50. We can reband that out, right? Even if we go shootout mode. Our quick inside 50, we're most likely will either score or they'll get a slow entry out. So being that's the case, I think we're going to beat them, and we're going to beat them well. I'm not worried about them at all. It's funny. Hopefully I'm not right off base, but system versus system, because they've copied a lot of what we do, but they haven't yet got the full personnel to copy our game plan.
And you can't tell me, like, it's in a stupid way, it's like a free hit for us going to Adelaide having a crack at them. You can't tell me that there's no pressure on this team in their 150th year in front of their hometown, in front of their first prelim final since 2014. You can't tell me they're just going to rock up chock full of confidence, mate. They'll be jittery as hell. If we put it on early, if we land a couple of blows early, it will only compound for them.
But
It'll only compound.
But we're under pressure too. Like, I think 2018 showed us that whatever fantasy we had that, we can get into another final because we're starting to peak early and probably make a grand final. Like, we're in this position again, right? It's the fourth time we're in this position. I thank God 2018 happened because they're not going to take this for granted. And they didn't take it for granted last year when we made the grand final. And I had to think, I spoke to a mate of mine that get trade news in, but I've openly said it, so now I haven't said who he is, but he works in the footy industry, right? His basic job is opposition analysis. That's what he does, right? And we had a bit of a Zoom conversation today, and he just said to me, Mick, peace of mind. He said, your chance of losing this game is around about 20%. And I said, well, how can you be so confident? He said, your strengths equalises their strengths. But what's the difference is their strengths improve your natural strengths. Like for what I tried to discuss like he did with me. But the other big thing too is, and this is, the players want a flag. The hunger from our group, I reckon, is greater than it ever has been in the last 3 years. They want this. So you're right. Port are going to go in going, we have to give our all. We should beat them. We're talking about a big game. Oh, fuck, if Richmond gets on top of us, all that might come in. Richmond will be like, there's no way we're dropping this. We're not dropping it.
It's going to come down to scoreboard pressure early. It's all good and well to dominate general play and beat them in, this stat and that stat, but we've got to be able to put, 2 or 3 goals on the board really early, shut the crowd up a little bit, and let our guys just go to work and do their thing. I think that's going to be a massive part because for most part of the year, the boys have played in front of a pretty small and tame crowd. This is going to be a full jam-packed Adelaide Oval, wanting
it's
blood.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be awesome to listen to, despite it being fully against us.
Yeah.
But
and I reckon the boys will thrive on it.
Do you reckon they're going to tie the Windsox down to confuse Trent?
Look, he was learning.
It honestly wouldn't. I was there that day. It would not have mattered which way we kicked. They were going to
got absolutely.
They would have beaten everyone that day.
That's a good game to sort of mimic this game. They went in there because they knew in their hearts that they're destined for bigger things, right? They played that way. We went in there going, oh, shit, we just made it. How great's this? We can't lose it. So I don't believe we're going in the mindset we can't lose this game. We've gone in the mindset we are winning this. This is one.
Well, it's belief. What we've got is belief in the system, right?
Yeah, and if we're in front by half time and we get that first goal in after half time and get a bit of a run on, I can see us blowing this out. I can see them breaking because that's when they're going to have to try to create a win. And being such a small ground, and this is my only listeners, this is my biggest fear now. Anyone outside of Richmond will probably think I'm crying about it, but umpires can make a huge impact in games in Adelaide. Why? Because the ground is so small. Every 50 or every free kick that's forward to centre is straight into the goal mouth. So if they get double the run like they had last time, we're going to be fighting uphill, no doubt. Particularly if it's a hard contested in-your-face game. That's my biggest concern. That's our biggest chink in our armour is that this gets umpired out of us.
All right, we'll have a look at some. You go, CB, then we'll do some matchups.
Umpires for this week: Stevic, Meredith, and Du Bois. Razor Ray's been dropped.
Curtis.
He hasn't made. Razor Ray hasn't made the cut. He's been cut.
That other flog, Mahallen or whatever his name is, that paid all those.
Yeah. Curtis Du Bois had it in for us though. He was the one who paid all those deliberates against the Fremantle game.
He's sort of I just think he's a bad umpire. I used to think he's the haters, but since we called him out in Twitter. Or was it Gorman we called out? Sorry,
we called Gorman.
D-Boy's that little child-looking fella.
Yeah.
Look, he's bad to all clubs, not just to us, right? Sometimes we've actually had a few free kicks from him, but Gorman. Since we did that tweet, his umpiring to us has been a little bit more fairer. I'll give him credit.
To be fair, fate rests in our hands. We're not going to have to rely on decisions going one way or another. If we're good enough, we're good enough. But matchup-wise, the one that's interesting for me is how they're going to use Trent McKenzie. So you look back at the Geelong final they had, and they put Trent McKenzie on Tom Hawkins. Now, there was a lot of love and a lot of celebration and backslapping that it worked really well because they won. Oh. But if Hawkins had a kick straight, everyone was like, shit, that was one of the dumbest things we could have ever tried. So I'm going to be really interested to see if they put Trent McKenzie on Lynch or Rewalt.
Oh, pray they put him on Lynch. Pray they put him on Lynch. Look, put him on Rewalt. Look, CB had a good point. Our Jack is playing such a good game. They're working really well in tandem together, right? So I have no doubt that if McKenzie's on Rewalt will wander McKenzie into Lynch's line as he leads up to get a mark. So Lynch just does the one big crash and bash into McKenzie 2 or 3 times. I have no doubt that will happen. They're in a lot of strife. It's the team in the back line. They've got McKenzie, and who's that other tall fellow that they've got?
I didn't write his name down, but I'll have a look at the lineup. While I'm doing that, CB, at the other end of the ground, who's going to play on Dixon from our perspective?
I think it has to be Asprey to start off with.
You
have to. Common sense tells you have to go Bolter on Cleary and Asprey on Dix on.
No, I wouldn't put Bolter on Cleary. No way. I would put. I agree with you on Dixon.
Who's that big
Marshall plays up there.
Marshall, whoever it was.
So I wouldn't put Bolter on Marshall. No, what I would do is because Marshall's their decoy. I would put our best stopper Asprey on Dixon. I would put Bolter on Lathams, right, and then I'll put Grimes on their other third tall because Grimes will just eat him up by just paying him. We'll pay him respect, but we'll be able to burst and support the other 2 boys. I
reckon Broad might take him, and I think you might find Vlosten and Grimes will just do their work cutting off stuff.
What about Robbie Gray?
Robbie Gray, I respect him because he's a champion.
He's dangerous at stoppages in forward 50. He is super dangerous.
He's a champion, but Father Time's catching up to him really quickly. Look, I would personally put Vlosten. I think that's who we used last time we played. Was Vlosten was on him?
As long as they pay him the respect he deserves in that 450 area. No free runs at the ball. Because, if you watch him closely, the way they block for him and he finds space is first class. And, that can hurt you pretty quick.
Yeah. For me, it's some of their young kids are good quality young kids. And this year they're running with abandon, right? They're running really offensively. I can't wait for them to be lined up against. I'm assuming Pickett's playing, right? So Pickett and McIntosh. I can just see those two boys just bashing into them. That's one. We have to stop their run. See, what they're really good at, they control the inner side of the contest and then quickly feed it out to they hold their width just as well as we do with our wingers. Then they'll feed it to one of the wingers and the wingers will go on with that big gallop. So if we can, and we've got the tools to now do it, we've got the tools to not only contain them but surround that easy ball out and intercept it. If we do that, those younger type bodies, when they have to, their job is they're not getting it such an easy ride on getting the ball received to them. They have to go and hunt the ball themselves. That's when our bigger bodies and our finals experience will kick into gear, I think. The Port inner core is really strong in season. We're talking Boak, Wines, Rockcliffe, and they're really strong. Dixon, even though he's a bit of a fairy and he's overrated, he's a big boy, right? But he's physically matured. Outside of that, they've got a lot of marshmallow youth that I'm not calling them soft, but if you sort of get me, they're not as conditioned as our blokes. So if it comes a real contested game across the whole ground for the full 4 quarters, I don't think they'll be able to maintain. They're going to have periods where they're going to drop that pressure, and we'll be able to maintain.
The one thing we've got to not get sucked in on, which Brisbane did,
is
Port are going to match us with physicality, and they will. They will match us with physicality this week. So we've not got to get sucked in to like what we did in the Brisbane game. That's the one thing. We've got to show some maturity and some learnings and not do some of the dumb things that we did against Brisbane when they stood up to us physically and didn't let us. And when we tried to dominate them, they stood back up to us. So we've got to have the learnings in there. Otherwise, that will cost us. That will cost us goals.
No we showed
kicks. We showed that against St Kilda. Like everyone's highlighting the Cochin and Lynch, but outside of that, I noticed a few times when our boys were getting held onto, getting pushed, right up to their face, they actually lifted their hands up. And to the umpire, like the thing is, did it a few times and saying, "Hey, look at this."
And if we do it early on, they'll probably just stop doing it because they're not getting the reaction they want. So
that's right.
Just diffuse the situation early, and don't get sucked in. The last thing you want to do is give away cheap goals in a prelim final at the other team's home deck with a crowd of that size and magnitude getting right behind them. So you don't need to give free goals.
Because Rockcliffe will fall on the ground. He will just fall on the ground. That's what he does every time he's playing.
And if there's a strong gust of wind, Charlie Dixon might fall over too.
Yeah, they all do. And they love getting that fake push in the back. They do it all the time in the contest. They'll fall forward. Hopefully we've had a word to the umpiring department before we play the game and say, hey, just keep on this because we got crucified on that last game we played.
Changes-wise, are we universally agreeing we're going to go in unchanged?
No change. Markov isn't coming in broke. No change. Just roll with it.
No, he wants Troll in.
I've got 2 questions I want to put out for the guys that are listening to this and you can speak about it all week. Just posing this. And now listen to it before you start screaming, yeah? Joel massively worried them when he played. He had some beautiful runs. He created some goals. He actually had one of his best games of the year. And which is really important. When I know a player has qualities, when they're having a really good game when everyone else is getting smashed. Right? And that's a game that was happening on. But the reason why he had a good game is because he was surrounded by experience. He had Lynch. He had Jack playing. And I think Chol is our third tall, right? So for me, I would even look at removing a small, whoever that might be, like a Caddy. Caddy's like a Castagna. Even though I love Georgie. No, hold on. Let me finish.
George has played the whole. He's played like a busted ass all year and hasn't been dropped.
Equal there. Let me finish, right? I will keep Rioli as our primary small, right? We've got Shai Bolton, who's rotating with the midfield to the small. So we're not going to lose out anything. I reckon we will gain more instead of having a third small by having a third running tall that can also ruck if need to. And it gives us another dynamic during the game. Because I'll tell you something, how would you be a Port Adelaide defender when one has to man Lynch, one has to man Jack, and then you've got a guy just taller than both of them running around like he's a midfielder in the forward line that can take a grab?
I get your point. The problem is he's not taking grabs. We hadn't been taking grabs. He's just too devoid of confidence, I think, to put him into a prelim.
He was out of form for 3 weeks.
If he was up and about and playing good footy, there's definitely a strong case for it. But I don't know. He's just not confident enough.
No, he offered zero against Brisbane. He offered us zero physicality.
We can't, but what I said, but he did. Look, but you're forgetting he's played more than just one game. And the other games that he's done well, he did offer a bit of, he's not a physicality type of bloke. That's okay. Short's not a physicality type of bloke, right? So, but what I think just...
Yeah, but Short's not 6'5".
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So what I'm saying to you, though, is removing George from this game, just because you've got to coach to the personnel that you're up against, right? We can really expose them for height. In a small ground, height is king. And I reckon it would offer us more than a small who can support the midfield. Because I reckon we've got that in your Shai Bolton, right? So, and we've got that in your Lambert. Because there's another thing. Lambert's not been having a great game. And I'm not saying replace Chol for Lambert if you really wanted to keep George in, but I got a feeling that Chol there's a spot for him. And look, one thing our coach is, he's brave.
No, he is. His players in, man.
He's not afraid to put something in left field out there if he has to. But yeah, interesting concept. I'm not sure how it would play out. Whether Dim would be brave enough to do it this week, but I get what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I get what you're saying.
And look, and that's all I ask, Mike, because I ask for understanding. CB, understanding, mate. That's all I ask. Don't ask for you to agree, but just don't be a prick about it. Put a dollar in there.
We'll be dropping the volume down on that one.
My Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name. I'm a good Christian boy, but no, don't be a prick about it. Just legal learn a lot from Michael CB. He'll learn a lot.
All right, we'll move on to some listener questions, and we'll do the tip and margin at the end. We'll rip through these as quick as we can.
Sorry, listeners, I'm trying to be cleaner. All right, I've taken your message on board. It's just a fraudulent slip, so I apologise.
He called me Carlton.
That's exactly right.
So first question is from Japana on Twitter for you, CB, and it kind of ties into the Port Adelaide theme. Is Charlie Dixon the most overhyped, overrated player in the game right now?
I tell you what, he's got a good rig. He's worked hard on that. But as far as his footballing ability, and this will go back into why you should listen to us and not Brian Taylor and Bruce on Friday night, because you know what they're going to be crapping on about. Oh, big Charlie Dixon. Oh, yeah, it's going to be horrendous. I don't think he's overhyped or overrated. I just think he's bog average. I think he's just a B grade forward.
He flops a lot.
What is he? Look, he's not a great kicker goal. He can take the odd pack mark. He does provide a bit of presence, but mate, there's a heap of guys who do that. I honestly, when you think of the leading top forwards in the game, do you think Charlie Dixon?
No,
you don't. And yet he's playing in the top team. Right? So,
for me, Brown is a more damaging forward than he is.
Yeah, there's a number of players he's just an average footballer in a very good team.
All right, next one for you, Tiggs from Rhett Weeks. Not Richmond related, but what do you think De Goey's worth on the market?
Honestly, what I think he's worth is no more than about $550. What I think he'll get is probably, depending on how desperate the club is, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets anything from $650 to $750. He's dreaming if he thinks he's worth $1 million.
Yeah, agree. From Greggy on Twitter for UCB, will Caddy play again this year? His finals cameos have been integral in our premierships. He has that touch of class and is good for a couple of goals. Why isn't he playing?
I think he's fallen into, before Brody come back in the team, I think he's sort of fallen back. He's into that trap. He's not playing because of team balance and team mix. Personally, I love it when he's in the team. I'm a big Caddy fan. But right now, he's not playing unless there's injury or suspension. Anyway, he's making his way back into this team. But I think right now, Hardwick's backing Marlon Pickett on the wing. He's backing Camden on the other wing. And the half forwards are set with George, Rioli and Lambert. And Bolton now rotating through there. So I don't see a spot for him, unfortunately, right now.
And for you, TIG71, this is from The Tail on Twitter. How did you guys enjoy the Vic bias round where only Vics were allowed to play last week?
Oh, I loved it.
Okay, good answer.
I loved it.
Full stop.
Yeah, very good.
That's it. I loved it.
From Ryan on Facebook, CB, do you still think Treloar believes the Flag Pies have the better list?
Flag Pies?
I think he cries himself to sleep every night thinking about what a mistake. Yep.
What a mistake. That's like posing to a chick and then you find out she's got a dick. You know what I mean? That's heartbreaking.
Well, I'll tell you what. You think what we gained by not getting Treloar was Daniel Rioli and Dion Prestia? Was that the two we got?
Yeah, basically. Yep.
Yep. So thank you. I'd personally like to thank Treloar because that's what he gave. He gave us Meatball and Daniel Rioli. And there's four flags between them, and they're still going. So that's magnificent.
Actually, it's better than that because then we would have given 2 first-rounders for him. So the next draft out of that, we end up getting Graham, I think it was. So
Graham was pick 54.
So who do we get before Graham? Bolter. So we got. I think we might have got. I don't know who was that.
Or was it Shy Bolton? Shy
Bolton. Yeah. So we got Shy Bolton, Prestia, and Rioli.
And the last question, which I'll get an answer from each of you. It's one of the greatest questions that's going to be difficult to answer. Would you rather go on a successful date with Margot Robbie or in successive weeks wipe the smug smiles off Ken Hinkley and Chris Fagan's or Chris Scott's arrogant faces? This was from Ryan as well on Facebook. That's a cracking question. CB, would you rather the Margot Robbie successful date or...
Dude, it's not even a choice. I'm going Margot Robbie. Sorry, guys. I'm out of here. Stick your footy up your bum.
Oh, you know what? I'm just looking at her. I've had better. She's got her nose is too big for me, and her blonde hair, black eyebrows just doesn't make it work for me.
So you need to watch The Wolf of Wall Street, mate. Might change your mind.
No, but I've had better, man. Okay, plus, I hear she's Harley Quinn. No, she looks like a bloke.
Where do you hang around?
So
I've just got high standards too.
So you're going the footy. You're going the footy option then.
Wipe the fire, particularly because we're playing Ken Hinkley and it could be likely playing either Chris Fagan or Chris Scott. I would take a bit of punani, sacrifice that for the sake of us winning a flag. But hey, that's just me, CB.
I'm weak.
I love the club that much, man.
I'm weak.
I'm with you, CB.
Absolutely.
You guys. Mate, how can I fly like an eagle surrounded by glass? Seriously. Where's the passion for the Richmond Football Club? Unbelievable.
I'll tell you what, if Margot Robbie's wearing a Richmond jumper, there'll be passion.
Oh, look, if she was wearing a Richmond jumper, but that wasn't in the question, was it? Look, she's a weird chick. Sometimes she looks really hot, but sometimes she looks bog average. Those nostrils are massive.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Before we wrap this up, we'll get a final tip for the game and margin. Thank you to everyone who sent through questions, by the way. Much appreciated. So final tip for this Friday night, CB.
I normally do the wanker tip, and I promise you this time I'm not doing it.
I know it comes natural, but don't be a wanker. Come on.
I'm going to try to be serious. Tigers by 8 points.
Yeah, good man. Right. Nice close game.
Tiggs?
Mate, if it's 8 points, I'll be farting more on air than you'd ever believe, mate. With nerves. No, I actually think it'll be close at the beginning. We'll start to kick away. I reckon we'll win by around about 24 points.
I'll say Tigers by 15 points. Yep. And just hopefully we can...
Mate, how good would it if we get another grand final? How good will it be?
It'd be huge. So, and a reminder to everyone, if you don't want to listen to the normal TV commentary, we are doing the live show on Friday, so we'll probably kick off about 20 minutes before the game starts with a bit of a pre-match preview, then get stuck into the game. So all you have to do is just pause your TV when the game starts and the boys will count you in, and then you click play all at once and listen to the guys not commentate, but just a play-by-play analysis and a bit of banter, a few laughs, and hopefully we get the win.
Yeah, perfect.
Boys. We're back.
Go, Ty.
All right, and with that, have a great call on Friday if I'm not there with you all the way through. Look, I'll probably try and listen to myself. I'm sitting in the lounge room holding a baby, but
Yep.
All the best for Friday, and hopefully, and good luck to all the South Australian Tiger fans as well, getting to the ground, try and make some serious noise, and try and be as loud as possible. We're very jealous of you, but I'm sure you'll fly the flag well for us. And on that note, till next time, go Tigers.
Thank your mother for the rabbits.